Yeah, this.
Yeah. Yeah. Not ready to say. Thought it was like a drawing. Hold it. You want to sit down, I think there's characters.
I got a friend up there that reads and he that. For the one time I got it, they got a chart from it very hard. And that's why I showed it later, you know, and I did right. Guess I just went on, but. Sure. Yeah. You're in prison. Shall we? Pledge allegiance to the flag. One nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
You're welcome. Going to, first item we need is to approve the agenda. I will move to approve the agenda. I will ask to add two things to it, or clarify two things. So it's been moved to approve the agenda. Second. Now, amendments. So underlying discussion possible action to approve tax sale reassignment of certificates, 25, 3, 4, 5. Jacoby's needs to be added there, 09-0264. Under discussion possible action to enter in negotiation with Nextera, that needs to be reported to Salt Creek Wind. And it is for a development agreement.
Let's motion to amend. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion will carry. So then we'll vote on the full, motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Just second that amendment.
Or,
You
I
did, okay, thank you.
I did the first one.
And you did the amount. Thank you.
Now to.
Now to approve the full agenda, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments, this time is set aside for public comments on county business topics. To be recognized, raise your hand or stand. We're actually gonna ask you to come up to the podium if you're able. There's a microphone there. There's people in the back that have a hard time hearing sometimes, so if we use the microphone, that would be helpful. Keep your comments directed to the board and keep them germane, keep them on topic, and no personal attacks or obscene language will be tolerated. With that in mind, if there's anybody from the public that would wish to speak, please come forward.
Go ahead, Jim.
I have nothing to say at the moment.
You're on the agenda. You can wait, Tim. You're on the agenda. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Apologize, Mr. Turner, we didn't exactly hear what your hopes were on changing the agenda. You repeat what that was, what you.
So the motion was to add John Jacoby to the tax sale reassignment certificates. And then under discuss possible action to enter into negotiations with Nextera, that was changed to Salt Creek Wind as a development agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, sure. I'm gonna make So for you in the back, it's gonna be loud right behind you, so just FYI. Pop into it like you're singing at a karaoke, because that's what these kind of mics are for. I know, I don't either, but.
Either music.
Hey, I got a couple of questions for the
Oh,
board.
even close, there you go.
Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, there's been talk of the decommissioning. So now that that's been established, can we get information of that? Can that be public information? What's it look like? Is it on paper? Is it detailed? Is it enough? And my other concern is renewed yearly. So does that, is that a trick? Because sometimes, the legalities of it gets a little confusing. So if it gets renewed every year, is anything from the previous year gonna get worked into that renewal? Because we all know that that sometimes can be washed away in legal issues.
Okay, what do you mean, like, restate your question, the second question?
Well, second question is if there's an issue with the turbine the year before it gets renewed, is that going to be included in?
The decommissioning plan?
Yes.
Okay. Just in general, two things about the decommissioning plan. One, yes, it could be made public. That information, I can release that. I can explain to you the answer to your questions. The first one, because the decommissioning plan has came up at every meeting. It's a lot of clarification, so I got clarification. The decommissioning plan will, our ordinance says that it has to be done and assessed by somebody who is a PE, professional engineer, licensed in the state of Iowa. They have that. They had a professional engineer to look at our ordinances and to look at their application and what it would take to decommission 60 wind turbines. And within that, the renewal period is a year. It's kind of like it's a bond. And so it's kind of like your car insurance. Policy is good for a year and then it's reassessed after a year. And the terms that we can say we want it done, updated every 3 years, every 2 years, every 5 years, that's negotiated between the county and the developer. And so we can set the terms of how often we want that reevaluated because costs go up and inflation goes up and all of those kinds of things. So that's, I guess, essentially the answer to that question. The second one, what makes something needing to be decommissioned is two things. One, the developer decides that they're going to decommission it, and at that point, it's covered by the bond. And if there's a wind turbine that isn't producing any electric for a year, doesn't have any production for a full year, that one would be decommissioned as well. And so I don't think there's anything that would carry over from year to year. The reason, kind of like your car, we don't go buy a 30-year car insurance policy. It's renewed every year because car values change and all of this.
So if one is determined to be decommissioned,
What's that?
if a turbine is determined that it needs to be decommissioned, who is that up to?
That's up to the company, and the bond is what's there to cover the costs.
Do we have a timeline
Timeline for,
of when it stops working and when it
yeah,
needs to be?
I think that the life of the project is 25 years.
So one can sit there on that ground for 25 years not working?
No. The point of decommissioning could be enforced through our ordinance after a year of no production.
What does our ordinance say about that? Are you familiar?
That is what our ordinance says about that.
That it has to be, okay.
Without producing anything for a year, then it could be deemed, that it would need to be decommissioned with that.
Okay. Is it possible to have that printed out where people can pick up
That's,
that and look at it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Just leave it there on the.
Okay.
Garrett,
Do I have to come up there? What?
if you can.
I probably can.
Okay.
I would
I'll
like,
bring the binder.
I would like to lean on the wall. I want to, first off, welcome Casey back to Tama County and wish him a one-day early happy birthday. Good morning, Casey.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. For the last couple of weeks, I have
Put it to your
talked,
mouth, please.
for the last couple of weeks, I have talked about our heart. 4-H is going right now, head, heart, health, and hands. God cares a whole lot about all those, but especially our head and our heart. And the turbines, we haven't addressed very much about the health concerns about the turbines. I'm concerned about the airspace and about 800 feet tall and about blinking lights. I am too. I mean, it comes up from other people, but I'm also concerned about that because, you know, from where I live in Toledo, I can see Gladbrook. It's an amazing thing, actually. An amazing thing. And so I am concerned about the health aspects. I'm also concerned about the earthquake aspect that nobody has ever brought up yet. The vibration, I talked to two engineers this week, one my age and one just a pup. And they don't have the answer to the question, what happens when you have 100 to 200 to 300 turbines not too far apart and the ground vibration way down into the ground over time? They don't have an answer to that because it's never been asked before. So I'm just gonna bring that out right now because it seems like the appropriate time. We have earthquake warnings all over, but they are especially biblical, just like the head and the heart that God cares about. So I'm just gonna throw out the health aspects of all of this. I think that we haven't talked very much about it, and I think that it is a real concern. And I think that we tried awfully hard so far for the last few years, 4 years, to take care of Tama County, the citizens, the people who don't want them, the people that maybe changed their mind and wish they hadn't signed contracts, and the people that are going to probably, maybe hopefully not in my lifetime, change their minds and wish that they had never seen that contract or that salesman that repeatedly came to their door. So anyway, thank you guys very, very much for fighting with us for the last 6 months, coming on board so that you could face all of this and be on call and going forward. No matter how this is gonna go, your jobs aren't over because there's gonna be a lot of people, a lot of calls. And if these things become a visual, I hope you don't all go to Nebraska. I hope you all stay right here because it's gonna get probably pretty overwhelming. Thank you very much.
Anybody else wish to speak, please come.
Good morning. This has been brought up, in the past weeks, about the money being spent on attorney fees and so on. It was brought up again last week about the money that was spent in the past. The information that I received, it was, in the past years, around $10,000 per year was scheduled for, was budgeted for attorney fees. And there would be money left over. TCAT started suing the county, then of course the costs went up. They've been going up. Now, like I said before, and then people have seen, the boards are getting stacked with TCAT supporters. And now it's switched over to where we're using county funds to do this. I've got no problem at all if the TCAT group wants to spend money, raise money to sue the turbine companies and energy companies. That's their prerogative. You don't need to be spending county money to be doing their fight for them when these boards are stacked with these people. Everybody's got their opinion. There's been a lot of talk out there. There's a lot of people still scared to stand up and say anything for whatever reason. I have no idea why. We can't figure that out, but there's a lot of people out there that are upset about this, the county spending money on this. TCAT wants to fight it. They use their money. They claim that they got tons, so they can do that. It's enough of spending county money on these things. And sorry, but everybody's got to follow the law, follow the codes and what's written. Don't go against court rulings. You take care of this. Sorry, but phase 1 and 2, they're going. That's something you're gonna have to deal with. Work it out, see what you can work out, but quit this nonsense of spending all this money of the counties. TCAT wants to spend it to fight it, let them do it. Thanks. Oh, one other thing. Sorry. Okay, in these ordinances, the counties had the opportunity to come up with an ordinance that everybody could work with. Before the state takes over, and that's just a matter of time. You talk to legislators, senators, it's a matter of time, maybe a few years. It's just a matter of time. So instead of having a 500 or 600 foot setback on a solar, you might end up with 50 like was proposed on this other one with no trees. So you got an opportunity to do something that everybody could work with. You might want to take advantage of it before somebody else tells you that you can't. Thank you.
Can go on.
Yes.
Doug DeVore, Planning and Zoning Committee. Bob mentioned ordinances. We did not get a chance to update our weighted ordinances. I was told by some members of the Board of Supervisors, we were gonna get to that next, after we're done with the solar. The reason next year is here in the first place is because we have a weak wind ordinance. We wouldn't be dealing with this if we would have had a chance to update our ordinances. I've got a lot of things to say, and I pray that I say the things that I want to say. Next Era is not a good company to be doing business with. Over the last 25 years, they've had $31 million in lawsuits against them. Back in 2014, 3 cattlemen were killed in an airplane crash in South Dakota because they didn't have the lights working on the end of the turbine blades. They've been in litigation a lot. There's a lot of talk about property rights. As a member of the zoning committee, that is my priority, is our Tama County property rights. And it's asinine to me that these people that are so in favor of having these turbines and granting an easement to a company that's had the background that they've had and as big and powerful as they are. The way I remember the word easement is it makes it easy for the person granted the easement to do whatever they damn please. Give them their property rights. And then you sign, I looked at a contract a couple of years ago, when they were in our neighborhood. My wife, when I read through that, Andrew stayed up half the night trying to get through it. You sign that contract, you basically sign a gag order. You can't complain about anything to do with that turbine. You can't discuss with the other people how much they're collected on. Is that the right way to go about things? Sign a gag order? Talk about the property.
Doug, we just ask that you direct your comments to the board.
I'm sorry.
Just face that.
I'm sorry. Okay, I want to make a comment.
Sir.
I'm a little disappointed with the Facebook readings that I read. You're in a tough position, but the decision needs to be made by your whole board on what you do going forward.
Yep, we know that.
Not just you. You need to have the whole board in discussion with this.
Yep, we know that. That's why I put it on the agenda.
I wish it was earlier on your agenda than it is at the bottom of the agenda, but that's too bad. Can't do anything about that. I just want to reiterate that I'm about property rights. Another point that comes to my mind is the subsidies. The big beautiful bill basically says a year and a half pile of subsidies.
You think you signed a contract, contract doesn't mean nothing. Contract anytime, but someone, my power quarters here are, some of them are here today. Wait. The big guy gets little guy, push comes to shove, you're gonna push. One more thing, what happened to neighborhood in this country, in this town? Heather has come out against these wind turbines, there are many others. I drive by her place, surrounded by plants, but wind turbines. Whatever happened to neighborhood in that? And how safe are these, like Karen said? What about a night storm? Sleet, flies off the blade, hurt your livestock, hurt your kids, right? They aren't safe. Thank you. Good.
Well, I was wondering if, anybody is, the board has determined how tall these blades are gonna be on this new, series of wind turbines you're putting out? How tall it'll be off the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know because they didn't give us any kind of a map and this is, you know, I know when they repowered Vienna, they said this is how tall it would be, this is how tall the blades would be. We have not seen any kind of a map, so unless anybody else has seen, I have not seen anything that shows to the tip what it is, so, just another gap that we just don't have. Maybe somebody does, but I haven't seen it.
At the hearing, in May, they had described what the model number was going to be, whatever it is. And you can look up that model number and I can pretty well guess that it's going to be whatever, however all the other ones are made. They said, I think that it would be shorter than the original ones. Or proposed.
And then, Doug was saying, or somebody was, that there's gonna be lights on the blades. Not just housing, but there'll be lights on the blades that'll be circling around the night. Evidently, you know, that's a question.
Yep, I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know?
No, it's probably just the turbine, I'm assuming.
I would assume so also, but I don't know how long the blades
I
are.
don't know what technology's out there nowadays, so.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Good.
Kind of off of what Jim just asked. So Laura told me that or she's been talking about it from the zoning board. When you build something, you have to know exactly how big it's gonna be, where it's gonna sit, how much ground it's gonna cover, how close it's going to be to everything else, your neighbor, your fence. So you just said, Mark, that we might approve something that we don't know how tall it is, how many there's going to be, where they're going to be, where the electricity is going to come from or go to. So do we know anything about any of these towers other than who signed up for them? Are we maybe going to approve something that we know absolutely almost nothing? That's the time.
I said. We know nothing about these things, yeah, we know plenty about them.
Carolyn Adolph from Geneseo Trail area. I have a question. I know you guys are in a tough spot because nobody wants to spend money, tax money, and I'm hearing all this about can't spend your tax money. Even though farm area, I think. Town. It's just a different town. You'd have this entire place would be full of people complaining, putting them in town where maybe they should be in their backyard, in the parks, by the schools. But no, you throw them out here in the country on our most precious soil, the top CSA soil everywhere. I know we have a senator that is promoting this. He lives on a farm, not my husband lived, it's a sand farm, the CSA is probably low. That's where they should be, not putting him down, but not on the best land in the world. Then I also have a question. We have a Pioneer plant, two of them in Tama County, I think that's all we have. And I have heard that these go up, phase one's going in, I don't know if that's gonna affect them. If there's a phase two goes in, how long are they gonna be in this county? I've heard Benton County has a better ordinance and they may be over there. So, are you putting these up to gain, I don't know what we're gonna gain. To lose one of our biggest employees, Corteva. I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard rumors, you get these all up, they don't wanna fly planes around turbines. It's just something to consider, so how much money is a county gonna spend? I'm sick of hearing that. I don't know, spend money and we keep Corteva here, that might be good. But if we lose it, I don't know if this is good or not. We'll have a few people maybe get rich on the turbines, but I'm not sure that's gonna happen either. Once the subsidies go away, things will change. So it's just something to consider, and you're in a tough position. I understand that. Thank you.
I've got a concern. I talked to a friend of mine, Tyler in Minnesota, and they have wind turbines up there, so not very many, mainly solar panels. And, I asked him how he felt about tiling a field with wind turbines in it because of the high voltage electrical wire that's buried. That I don't think anybody can see, and we don't know if the maps are gonna be accurate or not. And he said, if you're on a tiling machine, and they might have autonomous tiling machines, they probably do. But he said, if you're on a tiling machine and you hit break through one of those wires, you're fried. And so if they put in a wind turbine, it's gonna be there for 35 years or so. And yeah, Nextera or Salt Creek one says they will repair any tile lines that are crushed by the rain that goes in it through the field. But are those tiles gonna last 35 years before the field has to be retiled again? And maybe they might not be able to find anybody to do it. So that's all I have. They ought to think about this.
Couple of questions. Well, actually, one statement. I think your agenda's backwards.
What's that?
I think the agenda items are backwards.
Backwards, okay.
I think, I don't understand the thought process behind dropping everything and then going into negotiations. So I would suggest you table that part. And second, can you tell me any of the negotiations that you are, concessions you're looking for, negotiations you're looking for, anything like that? I think the county would like to know that.
Okay. The first, restate your first question. I was a little bit distracted because Dave was fixing my voice.
That's okay. My first question statement is about the agenda. I myself would consider going into negotiations before I considered dropping anything because it's kind of like let the cat out of the bag first,
Yep,
in my thought.
that's wise.
And then the second one is, do you have concessions in particular you're looking for? What are we asking for? And then why don't we have a statement here about the models? How tall can they be? Since you've got that much information, you probably should have some kind of information about how tall something is or anything on that line. Kind of another, I don't understand why that information isn't out there clear.
Okay. So on how tall they are, that information is available. They made the model number, or excuse me, the model of aware at the hearing. That was within the lawsuit that we filed. The judge ruled in that hearing for the temporary injunction against us overwhelmingly. And so that was a factor that was taken into consideration to our ruling, which we lost, quite frankly. And so do we know exactly, off the top of my head? No, I don't know that fact. We can go and look at that. That didn't seem to be an issue or a concern that the judge has already ruled on. And would likely rule again in final judgment. Anybody else? Oh, the concessions, I'm sorry. We don't know. I mean, what are your suggestions? I think that once we get to the point where we can start having these discussions, I've asked, Heather and I have served together. I've asked ahead of time to have kind of a backup plan if this really goes badly, and we don't want to talk about it at that time. But I think that certainly we would want to know from you, from the public, what kind of concessions we would want. I would like to have my money back that we paid on this lawsuit for sure. I'd like that to be restored to the county. I believe that, that's not an unreasonable request. So I think that other concessions that would need to be made on their side and on our side, that's where we're at. That's where I think that we can start negotiating. And so then we'll maybe hear from some of you guys on what you think we need to have as concessions. Does that answer all your questions, Andrew? No, she's on. Okay, anybody else?
All of the information on the turbines and everything, those are all in the conditional use permits. So that's all public record. I believe most of it is, some of it attorneys don't let out.
Correct.
But all of that information is on there for phase 1 and phase 2, so people can look that up and get that information.
It isn't the exact turbine model, what they stated.
Yeah, and there's provisions in there back and forth, so you gotta get the details from them on that, but I mean, they can,
Right, they stated in
the public can call them too and ask, hey, how big are these, they could call and ask the questions, and yeah, the information's out there.
You mean the building permit, the conditional use permit does not say how tall they're going to be today?
There's all kinds of information in there. When
Just
you
saying,
start looking it up, so I mean, when you go into the conditional use permits and the permit applications, you'll see all the stuff there, and then any questions can be directed to the power companies and get your answers, so it's all out there for everyone.
Yes, man. Somebody in the back there, sorry. Hold on just a second. I'll ask you to say your name and then where you're from, but if anybody else wishes to speak, could we just form a line behind her so that we know how many
No,
people
you're
would
fine.
like to speak?
Yeah. Just don't turn it off. Yes, it's on.
Marcia Livingston. I don't know much about this, except if this company has that many lawsuits against them, why are we even doing business with them? If we have problems, we're gonna be in the same boat that we're in, the others are in, with lawsuits against the turbine company. So I like jumping into a problem that's already going on. I would say back off. My opinion.
Yeah, but I believe that those decisions have already been made. If you don't know, don't know the facts of the case or where it's at. We've tried to argue the best facts that we have that is to address all of the issues that have been raised today. And that's gone to court and we lost. So that's the position that we're in. It's not us choosing to go into, yep, I'll let Heather speak to you too. But let me just, say that this isn't a choice that we're making right now. The judge has already said, in a temporary way, but has strong implications towards the final ruling. We don't have a choice. So.
I know I read it in the paper all the time and I sometimes can't even figure out what you're talking about because it's got so many
True.
directions going in. So, thank you.
Yeah, just to add in, that's the district court temporary injunction ruling. It's very common, Page County, Worth County, usually district court, usually you do lose a lawsuit for whatever reason. A lot of times it goes to the Supreme Court and that's where there's a better chance of winning. So I know it's brought up last week, the Worthwhile Wind in Worth County, they did lose in district court and now that's in the appeals court. So I would say just because there's a loss, I would say it's not looking like we're done and out, right? There's always opportunities. It looks pretty, a good path with Supreme Court too. So just trying to clear up that, yes, there's a bad ruling. It doesn't mean at the end of the day, it's not going to win. I just want to make sure we're clear there.
Good, Karen.
Yep, one more clarification. Over the last couple of years, when we have tried to talk at various meetings, ask questions of these big companies, that whoever the reps were that were here, no direct answers were given to us. We were always just, you get a paragraph for a simple sentence question that they should have been able to answer. But part of that is because of the, applications and the gag orders and the stuff that they don't want the public to know. So we have asked the questions, but we haven't gotten the answers. That's just directing back to what Bob just said. If we want to know, just ask them. We have asked. Thank you.
Good.
Morning, my name is Linda Lowry. I'm a resident of Library, Iowa, and a taxpayer in this county, obviously. Just what I heard you just say, Ms. Nemble, about taking this to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I am here to tell you I am against that. If you are paying $2,000 to $3,000 a month in a year's time, that's over almost $250,000. That goes a long way to rock on the roads in the winter and snow plowing and other health services, mental health, law enforcement. It goes to a lot of other services in this county. And I do not see that it should be on the taxpayers' dollars that this lawsuit continues. Thank you.
Mark, I have a question.
Yeah.
That 2,000 to 3,000, was that a day or
That was for Dave.
per day?
Okay, sorry, so it's even more than that, sorry.
So I need to clear up on that. I am the risk pool trustee and I've gained $50,000 out of our surplus at the risk pool. Mark didn't mention that in his Facebook post, that we do have 50,000 that we've been able to use on legal fees. So I want to be a little careful that, oh, they're spending all this money. We only went over budget like 92,000, I think it was, for last year. We picked a good lawyer because we were looking to win. We didn't want one that's not gonna get us to the finish line, right? So just to be clear, there's other things that we've done. Majority of this board hasn't taken any mileage, which is about 8,000. I mean, there's things that we've done to help cut costs, for mileage reimbursement, I should say. So there is another 50,000 that we've got 25,000 already. We have another 25,000 that we can use for legal fees. So just to clear up, there is some more that we're doing there and we're balancing the budget. That's what our job is to do. So
So if you got 50,000, then take that 750,000 a year, so you're still at 700,000.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a long drawn out process. Usually temporary injunctions aren't granted so fast. I mean, this, summary judgments are out there. Usually things go for 2 years and it would be long and drawn out. This is a pretty short timeline to where, we've already gotten this, summary judgment should come here by the next month and a half. Spring court would be next spring. It's a very short timeline. And like I said, we did pick a good lawyer. When I saw the numbers, I was like, holy cow, this guy's expensive, but he's got a whole team and he's good. Mark had used him at Mahaska County. Mahaska County, fought the airport there in Bellin. They lost twice in district court. They got Bellin McCormick, which is who we're using, and they won in Supreme Court. So that's the rationale behind it. We picked, let's pick someone good instead of just someone that's gonna go in and blow taxpayer money, because we weren't looking to come in and just, sit and do nothing. We wanted someone that is going to get our laws and ordinances followed. If I've said before, if this project was meeting every law and ordinance, was, perfect, kosher, good to go, we wouldn't be sitting here. All of us would, I guess they'd be built already. I mean, honestly, it's not like we just don't like this specific project. They need to come to the table and figure out how we can get things updated to make sure that they're meeting the law, meeting the ordinances. I haven't seen any updated studies. It's our job to protect the land and the people, and that's what we need to do. So, it sounds like Mark's talked to them. They want to talk settlement. Come talk to the rest of us. I mean, we can meet with our lawyer and we can have closed meetings. I haven't heard anything from them on wanting to have discussions or development agreements. So I would say if that's what they're wanting, come talk to us. We have a lawyer, get the two lawyers together and have a discussion.
I certainly didn't mean to neglect, saying that we have received 50,000. My concern is how much we are going to spend moving forward. The 750,000 to $1 million that it's gonna take to get this thing to the Supreme Court, which doesn't have strong implications. And some of the differences between this and the Mahaska County case. Mahaska County case, they didn't start building. They didn't start constructing we're talking about an airport project that was going to use eminent domain to take farm ground out of production. And I think a lot of people that are in this room that are for wind turbines would probably be against that project as well. That project was not moving forward. They weren't developing it. They were spending millions of dollars to get vested rights. And Fort has already determined that they have vested rights in a temporary way where they would be likely to succeed at point in final ruling. To overturn that, I think is going to be, it would take a mountain. We've talked about having a different judge. We've got a different judge, and a different judge just ruled that Judge Cox was appropriate in saying that the Board of Adjustment cannot meet to enforce the moratorium. In particular, in regards to the application that we made to them after the TCAT member, Bev Espenshine, dropped her lawsuit, dropped her complaint to the Board of Adjustment. So we're not comparing apples with apples. We already have a temporary ruling, the temporary ruling in Mahaska. And just to be frank, in Mahaska County, we had like $18 million in our bank. We have like negative 100 or 1.5 million projected, and we came out on top because of budget cuts. And we cut all of these services that actually ended people's jobs in order to fight this lawsuit. It didn't turn out the way that we want to, and I think that we're at a point that we need to make a determination. Do we want to spend a whole $1 million and go further in the hole when we're barely floating by right now? We just took $1 million loan from our health insurance fund in order to float the general fund. When I borrow money, I was raised fairly poor, and my mom would have to borrow money from her mom sometimes. And we were making sure that we had food, we had gas, so my mom could get back and forth to work. We weren't out spending it frivolously, and I'm not saying that legal fees are frivolous. However, I think that we have a pretty good idea of how the court is going to rule in their final determination. That's where we're at.
All right, so two things. When we first got into office, what was it? January, we came in, what did we do? We're out of money, we borrowed money. I would say it's not because of lawsuits. We got in and we right away had to borrow money. So I want to be careful there how we word that, because we're in this because of prior boards. We came into this mess of the money situation. Mark, I just want to be clear, you said 750,000 and 1 million we'd spend to go to Supreme Court. Our lawyer did he say that? I wanna be clear, I don't wanna be throwing these numbers out to the public, trying to scare them that there's this $1 million. That's not what he told this board.
Well, it costs over $1 million in every other case that every other county has taken to the Supreme Court. I don't care what the attorney said, how much it's gonna cost, you can take that and you can,
No, you can't. No, you can't.
This is our time.
we are responding and this is healthy. I mean, it's good for us to have this debate and I'm,
Sure the public wants to hear.
I don't wanna only, share my view. I think that the whole board needs to speak up, you know, and make themselves order. But as a point of order, yes, the board can address, the issue during this time. We can also debate it at the point of the agenda, but it allows for people to then question us. And so I think a good, healthy debate that is orderly is warranted. And so anything that an attorney tells you for legal fees, one of the things that we do know now also is that he cannot control how much money we spend on legal fees. If NextEra files 5 lawsuits today and we leave them unanswered, they're going to be automatically granted, whatever the motions are. And so we cannot control our attorney, even though we gave him a directive. I sent them an email and I said, it seems like we're really ramping things up when we ask you to conserve our money. And his response was, I cannot control how many litigation claims we have to respond to from the other side. And so we can't control how much we're spending. And it's a tactic that's allowed, it's legal. You can file as many lawsuits as you want against anybody you want. And they're going to have to pay to defend those things. And so we don't have the ability to control how much money we're spending. And if we're going, quote unquote, on the cheap, and we're not going to do depositions, then we're not going to bring our best case forward. And so moving forward, even in a manner that's a little bit more cost effective, is going to give us not as good of a case. You're going to want to bring your best case.
I have online, Patrick Cornwell says, what is the ultimate goal of the lawsuit? To stop the construction, the number of turbines, have the locations of the turbines or substation changed or moved from the original submittals?
Well, they're suing us, so I don't know. Like, we weren't suing them, they were suing us. We did ask for declaration of summary judgment on all of these matters. And he ruled temporarily on most of the arguments that we made. We got in front of a judge, we were able to make our case. That judge said we were wrong. The next judge said that he was right in his interpretation. And so, and the judge that ruled against us on Friday is the same judge that overturned 50,000 absentee ballot requests for Donald Trump in Cedar Rapids. And so he's not afraid to go against the grain, but he went with the status quo in this case. Good.
Question. Bob has alluded phase 1, phase 2, so that to me sounds like phase 1, phase 2 would just come right on through. Where does that leave us with eminent domain for phase 3 covering the rest of the county, which would be the, pretty much the eastern 1/3 of the county? Because phase 1, phase 2 covers, so most people don't know, it covers the west part and then the central part, which is right here around Toledo. And to the north, so really close to Toledo. And then where does that leave us with eminent domain and the possibility? And you're probably gonna say, well, I don't know, but what's your judgment call on that?
Eminent domain doesn't play into this. I think
Phase 3.
into phase 3, and one of the concessions that I can guarantee you that I'm going to ask for is that phase 3 is not going to go through.
Okay.
That's what happens when you come together and try to make a development agreement. I think that we have a stronger case that would end, phase 3. However, I'm sorry, Doug, I'll call on you in just a minute. What we're being told, or what I've been told, that once a project gets, vested rights on phase 1, phase 2 is going to happen. And so further beyond this phase 1 fight that we have, there's one right behind it that you can calculate at least the same amount of legal fees, if not more, for the next phase.
Thank you for answering that.
Sure.
My name is Cole Bob. I live over by Gladbrook. Do we have like a budget for what this lawsuit could get to? Like, is there a line? If we hit it, we're done?
No, so our budget, we budgeted $90,000, or was it 90 or 100?
For this new fiscal year's 100.
100. We
Last
budgeted-
year they had 30, I think.
Okay, there was 30 budgeted last year. And the new board budgeted for this fiscal year, July 1st through June 30th of 2026. We budgeted, 90 or 100,000. No,
It's
is it 100?
We changed it to 100, yeah.
It's 100.
So would this Supreme Court thing, like for sure, be done in spring?
We don't know. I mean, there's so many unknowns. Like I said, I don't think we're opposed with discussions with, Salt Creek Next Era. I just don't like the approach that's been handled here. I think it's, let's get to the table, let's have a discussion and see what it leads to. And obviously then we'll go back, we'll work with our lawyer. You gotta have a lawyer's input in all of this, obviously.
Sure.
Yep.
Just from my personal experience, so right now I'm currently dealing with a lawsuit that would basically be the scale of one wind turbine. And I filed that lawsuit almost 4 years ago, and my court date's been moved 3 times. I just got pushed another one for next July. And I've already personally spent $100,000 just on that. And that's a tiny case. And even on times where like they're doing nothing, you still get a $5,000 bill every month because they passed 4 letters back and forth when they're charging $600 an hour for you to look at it. And then you're the one who mailed it off. So that was $250. And like, it just adds up extremely quickly. So if we don't have a cutoff line, let's say in the spring, could it get pushed back another year? And then, I mean, they can play the dodgeball game too.
Sure.
And if we win and we're $700,000 in, let's say, what's the repercussion for the county for that? Where does that money come from if we don't have that available? And if we lose, same thing, we're out.
For sure.
And there's no guarantee that the windmill company has to pay for the county's legal fees, even if we do win.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we just turn around and we just continue to get sued instead of them coming and talking to us. That's, every time we turn around, we're getting another lawsuit as the Board of Adjustment or the supervisors, so.
Do you know who the contact is for the wind turbine company?
Yeah, I know of one. And like I said, I haven't heard anything since January when they demanded we update the moratorium or get sued, so.
So who's the contact, you know?
Kim Dickey,
Is she in this room?
yeah. Yep, so.
Can you talk to her like after this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if they're ready, come to us and I think we need our.
It's like, why did they have to come to you on everything? Like, you know who to contact.
Yeah,
It'd have to be a closed meeting.
Well, that's fine.
yeah.
We just can't.
But I'm saying, why is nobody, I
But
mean,
you just
you guys are kind of sitting there on your hands like, oh, well, you come to me. Well, $2,000 to $3,000 a day is being spent on this.
Yeah, I think it was just process. I mean, we just got this ruling like a week ago and then another one just came, a couple days ago. We're getting frequent information and that's where I had asked Mark, I wanted another closed session. I think we need to have more frequent closed sessions. I think this board can't make an action, but they can decide our strategy in a closed session. And so my recommendation is still, I think this board needs a closed session, whether it's this week or whether it's Monday, but I think, all of us are, I mean, I'm even more fair, open-minded than I was a few years ago, right? I mean, there's things that have come up, there's things that have changed. I've been calling around to neighbors all over. I think it's good to always have discussions with the other side, and I think we need to do that. But I
Sure.
don't,
But
things have
if you want feedback from a farmer too, I mean, I live within a mile of 7 wind turbines.
Yeah.
I personally have 4 of them and I'm a farmer. So, I mean, I have just as many concerns about the ground and how things would be implicated with that. So
Yep.
if you want feedback from someone who's willing to talk, you're
Yep.
more than welcome to
Yeah.
contact me too.
yep, yeah, call me. I don't have your number or give it to me after.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'll take all feedback. Like I said, I'm not here for one person. I'm here for what's the best for the county and so yeah,
Okay, thank
talk
you.
to anybody.
Good, Michelle.
Patrick Cornwell again says, you will discuss later in this agenda about terminating litigation you lost in district court and are discussing going to the Supreme Court. What is or was the ultimate goal of the lawsuit?
And I think there's just some strategy things we don't wanna discuss here, I guess, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the lawsuit was to get our ordinances and our laws to be followed. If they would have put the substation where it was supposed to be, if they would have known what height, make, model turbines would have been back in 2020. I mean, there's things that were not met. We have an ordinance, it's old, from 2010 was the last wind ordinance, but we have one. If they would have met it all, like I said, we wouldn't be here. That's the only reason. I'm a law and compliance person, I wanna make sure things are followed. I haven't seen these updated studies. I care about people and livestock and the well-beings, and I wanna make sure, if it does come in, let's see those studies, let's see those results, let's hold them accountable, that if someone starts, having noise that's too loud, that it gets taken care of. So if, a tornado comes through and knocks them down, what's gonna happen? Or if technology changes, they have to be decommissioned. It's just making sure that everything's in place to make sure that everybody's safe and the land is taken care of.
Richard?
You got a, text from Laura Wilson, Richard Art, sorry. We got a, text from Laura Wilson, basically saying phase 2 has not been brought before a public hearing for their cut application, but Bob is stating like it already has been approved. Does that mean the Board of Adjustment has no say over the merits of their application?
No, not according to our ordinance.
So phase 2 has not been approved yet.
No, but, so they had applied for their cut in December of 2024, excuse me. Before this board came on, before the moratorium went into effect, and they haven't heard back. That's in limbo, so that's still sitting with the Board of Adjustment. However, it's been conceded, by Heather, if they get vested rights for 1, they're going to get vested rights for 2, and so the implications that we would deny their cut, and that they would be going to court under the same merits of the case that are just made, that we would still not be successful. And so do they have the authority yet? They can take that up, they can deny it, it'll go to court, and we'll lose again.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
And I'm just one member on the board, and the public shares that.
I know I emailed everybody on this board, I voiced my opinion. But my concern is, Mr. Dolan, you're coming out publicly and voicing an opinion before the rest of the board could voice their opinion. I was a board president for a number of years. I always let the rest of the board voice their opinion before I voiced mine. So I have a huge concern about what you did with Facebook posting. So also, I
Well,
have
they
a
must
question.
address it. Stop
Go
it.
ahead.
I'm free to express my opinion at any time. And you're free to express yours. And if I see something that's going, that isn't going right, at some point, I have to follow what with my core convictions. And if I see something that isn't right, I'm going to speak up at that time. And so the rest of the board is free to jump out there in front of me if they wanted to. However, they didn't. And so I feel like as in a position of leadership needed to be displayed. And that's what this is. It's easy to take the easy road and just keep going down the same road and spending money and not take the abuse that I've been taking. However, I thought that it was the right thing to do. But
And what was the figure that your lawyer during the closed session gave you what it was gonna cost to go to the Supreme Court?
around $150,000.
That's far different than what you just said.
Because I don't believe it. I don't believe it's gonna be $150,000. I don't think that he knows how much it's going to be. However, in the Mahaska County case, it took 7 years to overturn the ruling of the court. These things could be up and built and spinning for 7 years before we have any kind of indication of a ruling if they're going to have to be taken down.
I also want to comment, I heard Bob commenting about TCAP.
There's 4 members of TCAT officially. Bev Espenshine is not a member of that. She is a supporter, a very strong supporter. But her action to drop the case was her decision only, not TCAT's. We are not, we would not have approved dropping that case. And I know that case gave you guys the best opportunity to stop this. But I feel at this point in time, we're halfway through a process. We need to finish it. So, my opinion, you keep going. So, thank you for your time.
Andrew?
I know this is kind of unusual, but because the public comment came after the approval of the agenda, I'd really like you guys to consider reapproving the agenda and making a motion at the bottom of the agenda, at the top of the agenda for the, what is it exactly? Anyways, bring up the
wind turbine topics to the top is what you're wanting.
I would like that at the top of the agenda. Just so that, since this room is pretty full, it'd be nice for them to be able to get on with their day. Thank you.
Yep, I agree, and there's other people here for a lot of the things that, don't pertain to the wind tunnel that are having to wait, and so I agree. If the debate of the board is going to be short, I think that we can do that. However, we've got a county engineer that needs to get back to work. We've got other people here that are looking to make a proposal for the housing trust contribution, the tax assignment. So bringing this to the front of the meeting, I think maybe helps you, but it delays the rest of the things that are going on. Yeah. Jim?
Yes, Beth from Toledo. The lady that was here earlier, I think from the Glad Brook area, the red-haired lady.
Yeah, I think she took a phone call.
Yeah.
Well, I keep hearing this, how much the wind turbine fields help the community. And she mentioned the money goes to the sheriff's office. And Casey's gone too. So, okay, my question is to you. How much money directly goes to the sheriff's association from the Vienna wind turbine presently?
I don't know, but,
You do the budgets, right?
well, I don't budget how much goes to the sheriff's association.
This is a review.
From the wind turbines?
Yeah.
Do you know how much money goes to like
All
the
from Vienna Wind,
Vienna wind directly from Vienna wind to the
that's a
sheriff?
completely different topic.
Documentation.
How much money goes from the Vienna wind to like our
So the
911?
Vienna Wind project was tipped, and so they got their money up front. They spent it on roads October.
And bridges? I've
City.
never heard anybody say none of it goes to, like the Board of Health. None of it goes, it all goes to roads and bridges. And so, I mean, she mentioned, the sheriff's department.
What she was saying was we are making budget cuts and essentially spending the money that could be used towards the sheriff's department and roads and bridges and, everything in our budget rather than using it, to fight a legal cause that was a losing cost.
But there's no, what I'm saying
Said
is,
that exactly.
what I'm saying is, the people from NextEra, Salt Creek 1, Salt Creek 2, they come in and they say, how much this is gonna help the community? I haven't seen where it's helped the community,
Yeah, because we haven't, they're not.
That's what they say, but when
You're talking about financial impact. You're talking about a financial impact. If they're built, there's no denying, there will be money that comes into the county. Gonna be a large sum of money. That's not to determine whether these are put up or not. I'm just telling you that if you're saying we haven't seen it, well, it's because it's not built and the taxing structure that ramps up over 7 years. That money hasn't come in. The the money that came in for the Vienna project was spent right away, so you didn't, we don't see that now.
Right, and yeah, so what salesman promised us and what happens may be two completely different things. That's my point.
I understand. I mean, I track it. However, once the Vienna wind project is paid off, once all of that is paid off in 2031 or 2032, that will also bring money into the county.
That's a long time from now. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Doug. Go.
Yeah, next month, I don't need this.
I just want to thank you for all your work. You inherited a mess, and not just from the previous board, from boards that go way back that allowed us to be dealing with this mess with NextEra in the first place. I believe that money that they were talking about in Vienna and the TIF money that you mentioned spent, probably spent to fix up the roads that were damaged because of the wind turbine being put there in the first place. Is that partially true?
So,
That's shaking his head.
essentially, they have a road use agreement saying that they will build back any of the roads that were damaged, you know, and I haven't dealt with this company, but with Mid-American, they built the roads back better than they were before they started with the wind turbines. And I'm not talking about Tama County, I'm talking about Mahaska. It's my only experience.
I just want to encourage you to keep up the good work and I think it's a bad reflection on prior boards going way back that we're in this mess in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public comments. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Just one more thing.
One more.
Okay. Thank you. Just like to touch on, so the TCAT members and TCAT supporters. It's evident, it certainly appears to myself and many other people that this is certainly, you know, this all started with TCAT stuff. You have members, you have supporters, you have all these people on the boards and stuff. And the things that are going on, it certainly appears that this is done by a group. And again, we're gonna have these lawsuits and they want to file things, then TCAT can pay for it. That's their fight. We don't need to be taking the taxpayer money and stuff. It's just my opinion, as well as many others. I've had a lot of people standing up and saying that, and what it certainly appears to be. And through time, we'll get this stuff straightened out. When we talk about phase 1 and phase 2, yes, phase 2 has to come before the board yet. That's all in there. They apply before the moratorium. So that's what you're looking at. It's done before the moratorium. Got a slim chance in stopping that, most likely. Sorry. Down the road, it's taken care of, so we don't have more coming in. I never heard anything about a phase 3 or anything like that. But it's taken care of. So ordinances can be made and everybody needs to work together and make a good ordinance that's gonna work for everybody. Like I say, matter of time before the state takes over. So be careful. Thank you.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, I'm actually speaking as myself here,
Oh,
and I don't normally do this as a county employee, it's just something we don't tend to do. But I do have to say this because I feel like you said, in listening to everything, the one thing that I keep thinking as I listen to everybody arguing about this or that, what's right, what's wrong. When it comes to our budget and where we're at and continuing to spend, what bothers me is the names. Garrison Rakers, Joanne Hushak, Catherine Olendike, Tammy Wise. Those are jobs that are gone. Those are departments we have completely cut. Those are real people of our county that no longer have jobs. That, yeah, you guys did great. You cut the budget. You got it back in where it needs to be. But we're gonna continue spending that money in a lawsuit that, as has been said, as I see it too, has been lost. I'm not saying right or wrong the turbines, but to continue to spend money that you cut jobs to save to bring back the county into the black just seems wrong to me. I can't forget those people that are out of jobs because we were trying to fix our budget to turn around and spend that money on lawsuits that we're likely to lose. I think it's time we do something to save our county. Quit fighting amongst ourselves and save our county. And spending money on a lawsuit we're probably not going to win is not the way to do it. That's just my opinion as an individual. Thank you.
Karen?
I just need to clarify on Bob again. So TCAT supporters are about 3% of the whole population of this county, 3%. 65%, I worked the election, voted for you 5 people because they don't want turbines. And they don't even see them yet, unless they look like I do, north and west. But they're not even looking at them yet. And 65% voted, we don't want turbines here. Because, well, it wasn't about solar. I want to clarify that. It was totally about turbines. So I just wanted to clarify that because I get tired of Bob attacking TCAT. 3%.
Alright. Now can I close public comments?
Yeah.
Alright, we're closed. Moving on. Discuss and approve the 7/7/25 regular minutes.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Discussion approved 7/9/25 special minutes.
So moved.
Been moved. And seconded discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Engineer road projects report. Go ahead and use the microphone, Jim. If you would.
Karaoke. We've been working on intersection of F Avenue and 280th Street, doing some ditch work, by the cemetery over there. With the weather that we've had, I guess on Friday, we're gonna be taking care of our, washouts and walking, and doing other stuff till we get back to F, but right now, they're out taking care of other stuff, and then we'll come back to that project. We've started working on a bridge on H Avenue, just north of E69. The deck is off, and we'll be replacing the pier cap, or the abutment cap for the bridge. Then we've been rocking the roads and outgrading. Last week, on Thursday, we rocked some of 370th Street. And we'll be continuing to do some of that stretch this week. And, let's see, we've had quite a few, just with the shoulders of our paved roads, with the rain that we've had, had some washouts on that, so we're taking care of that, and one of those being, E44, so we'll have our shoulders attachment, take care of those. Then, I guess, forgot to put it in there, but the motor position application ends the 16th. We've had 9 applications so far, so, that's pretty close to what, probably about half of what we got for the previous one. And then I guess I have the utility permit and a resolution, so. So the utility permit is for Alliance, Energy. They are quite the they are going to be, going from overhead power to under, and this kind of for the cranes, like we'll be having to, for, the Salt Creek project, so they'll be having to bore under, and do that, so, I talked with them and told them that we'd be wanting to put those power lines a little lower in some spots that we had, probably need to do ditch work or not, or in the future. So I had them, go lower, so.
How much more are you talking about?
Be about a foot.
Is
Typically, how far?
48, yes.
Thanks.
4 foot.
Is this gonna be it, or will there be several different times that, you know, there's overhead lines that you're gonna bring underground, I should say? Like, is this it for that project area, or,
That,
far as
just
you
one line, as I know from when that's what,
okay,
I don't know if there's.
I don't know if it's-
This is like permanent that they're gonna be
For sure.
doing, but
Yeah.
I don't know, temporary wise.
Yep.
Usually they could have that.
They're not putting the whole line underground, they're just going underneath.
Correct.
Crossings.
Road crossings, the road crossings, yeah.
Driveways.
Yes, driveways.
so it'll still be above ground everywhere else?
Yes, correct. It's just,
Okay.
uh,
I'm surprised they're not just putting it all under. I know in my area, they put it all underground. Just a couple years ago, I always heard it was because of the wind project.
I don't know if this, will do that in the future. I guess timing wise, I think
Right.
this is probably a lot quicker than trying to do.
We'll just keep having power outages then, because that's not underground.
I'm gonna say, with
Oh.
with the derecho and all the poles that
Yeah.
got taken out, to me, moving forward, I think it'd be in their best interest.
Yeah.
To just start putting it all underground.
Yep.
I mean, a high tension line, those can't typically go underground.
But for today, just that, so I guess I'll make a motion to approve the utility permit here with all that.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Please, motion carries.
And then I have, temporary closure for Shelby, car show.
Mhm.
So, they do this every year. They close kind of the street for that Saturday, that shows some cars and.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kurt. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 7/14/2025 Roll.
Turner,
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Neville.
Aye.
Nolan.
call. Aye.
Okay.
Aye, motion will pass. All right. Just, we've had some really bad rain here lately, and we understand the road conditions are terrible. And, we've got a lot of people reaching out, just asking to look at, have your guys out looking at what the washouts are and, get them fixed as quick as possible, and then try to come up with a plan. We're gonna have to meet at some point here to, discuss what our strategy is with these roads. And, there was a particular comment on, Adam Todd in your area, over the weekend, and as well, Don Husky, you can check her, make sure that those are getting taken care of. That's it. Okay, let's see, Jim Roden.
You forget my golf cap.
Yeah. I need that today.
Yes,
Thanks, Mike.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Board of Supervisors for Tama County. You know, listening to the things you were speaking of before, we want to keep an eye on what the state of Iowa is doing. We certainly don't want them to start merging counties, do we? And we want to watch out for that. When Governor Reynolds vetoed the last bill concerning eminent domain, we want to keep an eye on that too, and be speaking to your representatives and your senators, because that might come. And the lawsuits that you're talking about, I call that tanglefoot, and they always cost a lot more than you think. So you want to take a good look at that as you're proceeding here. My name is Jim Rohn, and I've
I came to Tama County in 1958 to practice law. I'm from Southern Iowa, we call that Lapland, don't we? Mark?
Yep.
From Monroe County, and Albion is the county seat.
Yep.
And I came here in 1958, and I've been here ever since. And I've gotten involved, I practiced law for 42 years. And I practiced a lot of that tanglefoot that you were talking about before. Things always cost a lot more than you think. And you want to keep a good eye on that and who's paying for it.
Great.
But since I came here in 1958, I've been involved in the law practice, raised a family here. And when I retired in about the year 2000, I started getting involved in local projects. And I came here to speak with the Board of Supervisors today about one of those projects. A few of the things that I've worked on made a good living here in Tama County, so I thought it was about time that I gave something back to the citizens of Tama County. So one of the first projects I worked on was the Toledo Public Library. And in addition to that, we completed that in the year 2004. At the same time, we built a new Catholic church in Tama, and we completed that in 2005. And my biggest project has been the remodeling of the Waiting Theater and Opera House here in Toledo, which serves the entire county. And we did that in two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. We completed the phase 2 in 2018, and we spent about $3.2 million. And we still owe about $275,000 on that project, but we'll get that paid off too. My latest project, and it's ironic that as I walked over to the meeting here today, there was a group on the bandstand, a Bible group, and there were quite a few people there. They were having readings and things like that. I think Gary Kokosh is kind of involved in some of that. But my project now has to do with the bandstand at the courthouse. And I've been working on that for over a year. About a year ago, I started on that project, and I talked with Tim Dunn, a bricklayer here in Tama, Toledo, about the project. He made an estimate for me, and then the local group came up with a sidewalk project from the new middle school on what's going to be a beautiful campus of former juvenile home and Western College. From the middle school to the high school to the elementary school. So I stopped my project having to do with the bandstand, and I got on the fundraising committee for the sidewalk project. And now the sidewalk project has raised over $210,000. They're about, I think, upwards to $50,000 over their budget to do the sidewalk. So that project is on its way. So I've come back to the bandstand project, and that's what I want to speak to you about today. And I'm glad you have a nice crowd here today, because this bandstand has been here a long time. A little of the history of the bandstand, which I've given to the auditor and to Mark, is the bandstand was originally built in 1938. And it was built at that time by I just wanted to read this to you. In 1938, a new bandstand was constructed on the Tama County Courthouse lawn in 1938 and ready for the event. H.H. Turpin was the contractor who built the structure on the space selected by the Board of Supervisors at that time. There was no roof, but it was constructed so a canopy can be put on if desired. Well, we waited since 1938 for a new roof for the bandstand, and I proposed to put a new roof on a remodeled bandstand at the courthouse square. And more of the history of the bandstand is the bandstand belongs to the city of Toledo, sits on Tama County property, and has been kind of maintained and looked after by the joint Tama Toledo Chamber of Commerce. So we've got a split ownership involved here, which involves some legalities, which I'm familiar with. So what we're planning to do is we're planning to remodel the bandstand, and here's what we just generally would do. And it's in that estimate that I gave to you that Tim Dunn has done for me. By the way, this Holly, H. Turbot was Holly Turbot, and he was the contractor on the Reading Theater and Opera House when it was built in 1912. And after Holly Turbot, he also built the bandstand in 1938. He was a contractor. His son was Bill Turbot. His son was Kevin Turbot. Kevin Turbot's daughter is married to Tim Dunn. And Tim Dunn is the one that did the brickwork on the addition to the Reading Theater and Opera House. And I think if you take a look at that brick on the addition, it looks almost like the brick on the original Opera House that was built in 1912. So we plan to take the stanchions that are over at the courthouse square on the bandstand and match those up make those out of brick. From concrete, they'll go to brick, and they will be match the brick on the courthouse, the south side of the courthouse, the new brick. Also, around the base of the bandstand, Kim will take that off, the concrete off, put mesh wire in there and cover that with brick veneer that matches up to the courthouse. Also, we are planning to put in a disabled ramp so that people can go from the ground up to the top of the bandstand. We're going to plan to put in a roof on the bandstand. So our estimate right now is about 49,000, which I gave to you, and that does not include the ramp or the roof. So by the time we get done here, you can probably add on about another 15 or 20,000 for additional things that we need to do. And once we get into the bandstand, I'm sure we'll come up with new things that need to be taken care of on change orders. Are we going to have fundraising for this project? No. We have the funds already identified for remodeling the bandstand. We may need a little help as far as the roof is concerned. So I won't pass the hat today, but I will bring a hat later on and pass it around, okay, Kendall? Yeah, so anyway, that's what we're proposing to do here. But I met with the chamber last Thursday night. I'm meeting with the city council for Toledo tonight. And they're all kind of aware of what we're doing here. But we need the permission of the Board of Supervisors to proceed with this project. We'd like to remodel the bandstand right where it is now, if it's agreeable to everyone. I talked to your maintenance man about a few things too, as far as the remodeling is concerned. But that's what I'm up to, you guys. I want to give back to Tama County a few of the things that Tama County did for me.
Excellent. Anybody have any comments or?
No, sounds great. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Well, thank you.
Okay, it's been made and second. Just to make a note, I think that, it's refreshing to have this kind of conversation that people are having civic pride, and putting back and not asking the government to do it for them. And so I just commend you on your efforts over the years, and I love history. There's a guy that came and talked about the Lincoln Highway Bridge.
Yeah.
And, is that on your list at any time to address that?
Well, I'm looking for the lady that's the head of that committee.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's really important.
Yep.
And when we did the Reading Theater and Opera House, we went to the state of Iowa, did your economic development people, had a number of meetings with them. And we got Tama County named as a great place. And the reason we got that done is because of the Farm Museum in Gladbrook, the museum in Traer, and Matchstick Marble is in Gladbrook. And that's the reason we got it done. We had the Miss Blockies, Clyde involved with us. And at that time, we were able to get grants from the state of Iowa. We've got a couple of grants from the Tama County Board of Supervisors. At that time, you had an economic development fund. I don't know whether you still do or not. But anyway, we were able to get grants for those projects because we did that as Tama County. And it's really important that we support Tama County folks. Because there's movement out there, there has been for 15 or 20 years.
Yep.
To combine counties.
Yep, we very well aware of it.
I happen to be chairman of the board of the Tama County Abstract Company. And we worked with Tama County for years. We stored a lot of your records for quite a number of years, which we're happy to do because it's Tama County. But we want to make sure that we fight the merger of these counties because we don't want that.
No, we don't.
No.
Nope.
So that's all I have to say.
Yep, well, thank you so much. Yes, we do have a economic development fund. However, I'm not gonna tell you how much money we have.
No, and I'm not asking. Nice part of it is I'm not asking for anything.
Thanks,
On the theater, we got 2 different grants from Tama County for the remodeling of the Reading Theater and Opera House.
Yep, that's awesome. And I'm glad to hear that you're taking any of this or just volunteer on your time. And we appreciate that. We need it.
That's right.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oops, motion
Thank you.
carries. Go ahead.
Thank you folks for the good job you're doing.
Thank you as well.
Thank you for coming in.
Sounds like you got a lot of interest in it.
We do.
We do. Discussion about slide. I'm sorry.
I told you 2 hours was.
Oh. We had set a road mark at 2 hours to take a restroom break. We were asked, are you making a?
I want to make wise decisions and it's kind of hard.
So we can recess for 5 minutes bathroom break? We'll be recessed for 5 minutes. Marty went.
So we got around of 2010, annually request funding from the state of Iowa and Tama County into the trust fund. So in 26, we can apply for about $450,000 of state housing trust fund dollars. So we have to consider 25% local match. And that's roughly $110,000 we have to consider from the 4 counties that we work in. Tama County has been a great partner with us at the beginning of this month. So the county has roughly 25% local match from the beginning back in 2010. Since 2015 up through 2025, about 587,000 for activities across Tama County. One of the projects is 2 blocks away here, shop on the corner, LLC, the project for 3 one-bedroom apartments with the community development area, which is kind of spearheading. So that project, we invested $150,000 into. And then we've done 9 single-family homes across the county for owner-occupied housing repairs. And those projects have been done from 2015 through 2024. So we've been pretty active. We're past disaster events across the county. So we're started funding here in Marshall and Tama counties for the roof repairs. Our goal is always to get the structure weather tight, and the first activity for that is the roof repairs. So we focus in on repairs in 2020 and 2021 and 10. So today, question continues from Tama County. And 2026, 27, so $20,000. I guess Tama County, my for each of all of our projects have to benefit people. So people have to be under 8% of the income to qualify. So for a family of 2, that's about 59,000. Family of 4 is 74,000. We also have to set aside 30% of our funding for families under 30% of the income. And for a family of 2, that's 22,000, and a family of 4 is about 32,000. So, county, but again, if you, I know you've had some budget issues here lately, so if you need to change that, I guess we have some different approaches.
Okay, just to clarify on the resolution, it says there's 28 households currently on the waiting list for Tama County, meaning that we've expended all of our past fundings.
Right, yeah, that is their new households that, we can assist at this time.
Correct. It's a no-brainer. Basically, this federal program where we invest $1 and they give us $3, to go towards housing. And so free money from the federal government is always a good thing.
Yeah, this is state dollars.
I'll say, I apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it comes down from the Department of Housing and their rural development.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
state money.
I will also take it from the state. If it's not, anybody who wants to give it 3 or 1 way, we do not. I think it would be short on renew the maximized dollars to bring into the county, particularly in the case where we have 28 members of our community on a waiting list. And, I would urge our board to adopt this today. So is there a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 7-14-2025 B.
Okay, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Just clarification for Karen, is this in our budget? Do we, since we do this every year? That's right.
It's for this one will be for the next fiscal, but you have it in as.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It's already in our budget, and so no
We're
problem.
gonna start a budget in October this year. So this is actually a
Yeah.
welcome change to
Yep.
have the request this early.
Okay, thank you. Just,
Thank you.
I assume, but.
Wouldn't change anything for this budget here that we already budgeted. They made that request already in January. Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nibble,
Aye.
Dolan,
Aye.
Pepper.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
for the support here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, discussion of possible action to approve tax sale reassignment of certificates. 1000. Again, that's your limit, 3, 4, 5. And 2, and 2, and then, what was the number you had there?
09-0264.
We do have the information in front of us. Is there any motion to just do them all together, or is there any that we'd like to separate out for discussion? Or can we just do this one? I prefer one motion,
It's up to you. Yep, that's fine.
unless there's one particular that wants.
Just so we're clear, they've all agreed to pay what's on these sheets, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion then that we approve the tax sale reassignment of the certificates 25-00003. Same thing 4, same thing 5, and then 09-0264.
It's been moved into your second.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded. There's a discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Supervisors, Mark.
JJ, you're good. Thanks, sir.
Mm-hmm. You could get with Michelle Sugar for that. She's a payroll. Yep, but she can also do job posting. She's the Jill of many tricks. Thanks. My typical joke that is President Trump. Okay, moving along, discussion of possible action on law enforcement contracts, 2080 with the cities. We have, one with Cloutier. We already approved several.
Did we miss 2?
Okay, there's another one besides the one that you just read. There's another tax sale.
Oh, I put that on there. I read 2, the next one.
Yeah.
I read that with
Oh,
the,
that was the one.
yep.
I just want to make sure we got it. Sorry, Mark.
Law enforcement contracts with, 2080 with the cities, we signed some, in our last meeting. Casey has got, the new one from Coutier, and the tenants of all of them are the same, just one city's name is taken out, and the other one's put in. We're also waiting on one for Elbron, however, we're gonna ask that we would approve the one for Elbron and Coutier, on the sheriff's recommendation.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next. Discussion of possible action for approval of the South Central Iowa Workforce Region. Tama County is a member to combine with other regions. Heather.
Yep, so last week at a supervisor meeting, there were two other updates. I got info on this, but I'm the CEO for the Iowa Workforce Development Board. And so what they're doing is the federal side has cut their funding by 17% in federal funding, which is like $200,000 less than the previous year. So as I mentioned last time, they cannot continue to go on. They've already had a couple members that have resigned. The fiscal agent, compliance and operations manager, they've agreed to stay on until September 30th of this year. So pretty much all of us counties that are in this district are looking to go to another district. And so what we're going to do is, right now, there's a team that's looking at which one we should all merge with. Are we all gonna merge? Or some people gonna decide not to? So pretty much I'm looking forward to make a decision here to explore merging with one of these other districts. I presented that to you guys last week on what other districts there are. So I will have more information on which one they're looking at, but today what I'm doing is looking for this board's approval to allow, me as the CEO of this board to work with the other regions to look at merging with one of these.
So this is an exploratory.
It's exploratory, but it has to happen. I mean, we're going to, and I don't know that we necessarily needed board approval since I'm the representative, but I know Powashik County did it last week, and I think it just looks better, just so you guys are aware and okay with, the board here, and myself and the Workforce Development Board moving. As I said, Tama and Marshalltown will still be the Iowa Works locations. Those are not changing where you physically go for the, unemployment kind of things. It's just our board that we work with, so we'll just merge with another board. They're thinking about maybe even a bigger one too, where we might have more funding, which would be nice, and kind of the rurals will almost be as big cities, which would be kind of nice, because we don't want other, things with being rural counties, similar situations that we deal with. So looking for a motion to, pretty much approval of the South Central Iowa Workforce, Board to merge with another, district.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded to. How's the wording, Karen? Do you have it?
Well, I have to explore merging with other regions.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to, state our position, that Heather would, have authority to do that. We're all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oops, motion carries. Then she'll just update us after they have that meeting, I'm sure, and see where we're going. Discussion and action to approve auditor's quarterly report.
I'll make
deposit.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's quarterly report.
Second.
Been moved seconded to approve the auditor's quarterly report. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oops, motion carries. Discussion and possible action to approve the reporter's quarterly report.
I'll make that one.
Then seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oops.
Sorry, like United.
Yep, digging around. The motion carries. Next is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 7-7-2025C for Meskwaki Proclamation Day. This resolution is titled Meskwaki Nation Proclamation Day. Tama County Board of Supervisors We're in the Muscogee Nation for you know, as a tribal Mississippi, and I know it's the only federally recognized Indian tribe and has longstanding and resilient presence in Tama County. And whereas on July 13th, which was yesterday, 1857, Muscogee people made history by purchasing land in Tama County, becoming the only Native American tribe in the United States to buy back a portion of their ancestral homeland, establishing what is now known as the Muscogee Settlement. And whereas the Muscogee Tribal Council officially proclaimed July 13th the Muscogee National Proclamation Day in 1992 to honor the foresight, courage, and determination of the original tribal leaders and families who secured a permanent home for future generations. And whereas the Muscogee Nation has since grown into a vibrant and self-sustaining community, contributing significantly to the cultural, economic, and social fabric of Tama County, and remains the county's largest employer. And whereas the legacy of Chief Tama, a prominent 19th century Muscogee leader known for his devotion and efforts to protect his people's sovereignty and land, continue to inspire the Muscogee Nation and the broader community. Chief Tama's leadership during a time of great upheaval helped preserve the Muscogee identity and lay the groundwork for future generations to reclaim and thrive on their ancestral lands. And whereas the annual celebration of Muscogee Nation Proclamation Day provides an opportunity for all residents of Tama County to reflect on the shared history, honor, and resilience of the Muscogee people, and celebrate the enduring partnership between Muscogee Nation and the surrounding communities. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tama County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes July 13th as Muscogee Nation Proclamation Day in Tama County, Iowa, and encourages all residents to join in honoring the Muscogee Nation's rich heritage, cultural contributions, and continued commitment to community and sovereignty. One of the things I wanted to do, I have a good relationship with Muscogee Nation and others that have been done before. Just to reach out and say, you're part of our community, you're part of our county. Much of the land that they own is in our county. We are in the community together. Many of them live in the cities, and I just think that it's an olive branch to show that hey, we need to get together and get along. We're in the same communities and recognize all of the great things that they offer as our county's largest employer. And so, having said that, before I started doing this kind of research, I didn't even know that our county was named for Chief Tama. Many people refer to him as Chief Tama. And a story, I was reading or actually listening to a book on audio from that I was recommended by one of my Muscogee friends, and it was entitled Everything You Want to Know About Indians, but You Were Afraid to Ask That Question. And within that, there was a story. Everybody asked, how do you separate the walls, the walls, by? And there was a guy that had mentioned, this is the only thing that I know. There was a guy that was a native, and this was in Oklahoma. He was a member of the Osage tribe. And that gentleman went into town to get his tires replaced by the guy that does tires. And they had a cordial relationship, but there was always kind of a wall put up. And one day he went in to pick up his tires to pay his bill, and the business owner, said thank you in his native language. And I thought, he thought, well, that was so moving for him that somebody would go out of their way to learn just the words thank you. And so this gentleman went into all the public places and decided that they would put stickers on their windows in the native language saying thank you. And so what I'm proposing is that we approve this resolution, but also out of my own pocket, I have ordered, and I have them here on the door of all of the county properties, and anybody who wants private, I have 100 of them. We don't quite have 100 buildings. But it is a picture of Chief Tama, and it says, it looks like it's heavy, but it's pronounced Gatame, and it just means thank you. And so I think that would be maybe, I only reference to how to bring the communities together. And this is the kind of the only thing that I could think of. So having said those things, I would entertain a motion, or maybe I'll just make the motion that we would approve the resolution.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion, any comments from anybody else on board?
I'd like to make something. Being, new to the county, I've been going to church here for 20 years. Then when I retired, I moved here eventually, so I've been involved on. There is that tension between us and the Squacky tribe, and most people do not realize they are their own nation. And, they do a lot of good things for us and with us. And I think this goes a long ways to, helping us to join together. There's a gentleman who walks down the street every day past my house. And, you know, his name's Wayman Whitecrest. And we speak every day. Usually in one direction, because I'm not necessarily there in the second direction. But he walks into Tama every day and uses the gyms, and he walks back to the settlement. So, reach out, meet these folks. They're really good people.
Anybody else? If done, the motion and second is on the table.
Aye. Turner.
Aye.
Knibble.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Becker.
It's been, the motion's been approved. And by the way, the person who designed it is Guyana Pushtanikwa. Did you know anything about Guyana? Or, she does a wonderful job. She designed my cell phone case that I had for again. Just a plug for her. However, she's not taking any business right now because she's taking some personal finance. But, very artistic, and as are many of the Pushtanikwas and many of the Wisconsin people. Okay, thank you. Next, discussion of possible action. Tell me how we modified that. I didn't write it down.
Okay, so my question is, do we want to do the second one first?
Okay. The second one for, which was, how did it read?
That would be negotiations.
Okay. Read the wording.
All right, so discussion possible action to enter into negotiations with Salt Creek Wind, for a development agreement.
Okay. We will open it up for that. We'll need a motion in a second, then we can do discussion.
I'll make the motion of what I just said.
Okay, I will second it, now discussion.
Okay.
Going first?
I don't care.
Who wants to talk? I guess we don't even know what it entails. I guess my thought is to either table or vote no. I know you have a motion on the floor, but, not because I'm not interested in having these, but I want to have a closed session with our lawyer first, or maybe, you know, our lawyer meet with, Salt Creek or Denton's, and let's see what they're proposing. What does this even look like? So it's, again, I also, I don't know, like the wording, my thought would be just, maybe a motion in a second to direct our lawyer to start looking into options, like, or, you know, I guess that's what I have to say, I guess either a table or a.
Yeah, I'd like to get a closed session just with us, you know, and the lawyer maybe, so we know what we want, right? You know, to negotiate. That, I really do not want to terminate litigation until we do get some concessions. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, but also just, you know, I have a list of, you know, concessions if we do go down that road, and I just wanna understand if they're even willing to meet with us, you know, like where are we even at? And I think we're in litigation. I agree with Kurt, I don't think we should drop that because you lose your leverage. I mean, I've been doing contract negotiating for 15 years personally and professionally. You don't deal with it before you actually make a decision. So, I think we're in litigation now. I think we need to have lawyers present. I think we need to have closed sessions with this board, and then we can have closed sessions if we choose to with, Denton's and Salt Creek, and that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like we're probably all on the same page. We just gotta be careful with wording, you know, we're all looking to do here. I think we're all open to hear what they have to say. It's just my opinion, but
So to be clear, we're not talking about terminating. This one is talking about entering into negotiations with Salt Creek.
Correct, but do you know what a development agreement even is? I mean, should we at least wait and see what they have to say or what our lawyer says? I feel like just to throw it on the agenda and let's just do this. We don't even, what does that mean? Does that just mean they,
So the reason it's on the agenda is so
Yep.
we can go down that path. If we have to involve the lawyers, I'm fine with that. Typically, with a development agreement, we can talk. We don't actually submit an agreement. We negotiate and see what we can get from them as an agreement. Then we go down the lawyer path to submit it. But we have to open the agreement or we have to open the discussion first. My big concern, I've got 2 pages worth of information here I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to bring them all up, but we talked with our lawyers and, we told them to minimize the cost. And so I've got part of this, I want to make sure I talk about it. So we've won some things, they've won some things, but regardless of future wins or losses, hear me closely. There will be appeals, interrogatories, discovery, depositions, research, challenges, reviews, edits, and any more legal action. All of these cost money, a great deal of money. And I believe we're looking at least $1 million, if not $2 million. And we don't have that in our budget. So I want to talk to them and find out where they stand. We can talk about where we stand, and then we go down that path of looking towards how do we resolve this without continuing to spend money on lawyers and going to court. That's where I'm at. I'm at the point where we're spending way too much money and the lawyers have to respond. And it's costing us a lot of money just because the folks from the next era, they put something before the court, we have to answer it. We can't just leave it there. I want to get into this as fast as we can and come to some type of resolution, because we can't afford to keep spending money. Was it $2,000 to $3,000 a day? That's something. I think it's a lot more than that. And they haven't done the interrogatories yet. Well, some of them, they haven't done the depositions. They're gonna depose all 5 of us, guaranteed. And that's gonna be a lawyer for each one of us individually. And I'm not willing to keep going down this path without us first talking with them and seeing where we stand, where they stand, and see if we can find a different kind of resolution. So yeah, you talked about being, I'm a law and order person too, but so far the law has said, Tama County, wrong, no. So we need to talk, and the sooner we talk, I think the better off we as a county will be.
Understand that the motion to enter negotiations for a development agreement do not bind the board until we decide as a board. And until, at any point during litigation, you can ask for a settlement demand and say, what are you asking for? The other side. We can't even do that. This motion would allow us to do that. When you talk about a settlement agreement, however, if you're represented by legal counsel, what automatically happens? What's the price tag? Well, the attorney's going to take probably 30% of whatever settlement you decide. Why can't we ask them, as a board, what we want, what they want, and get together and have an agreement on a project that's going to happen and determine some concessions that we can get from them? It's the only way that we can get anything out of this without putting it into the hands of the court. And so the motion, I believe, doesn't hinder us from continuing forward. If this falls apart, I'm just saying, let's have a ceasefire. You know what happens during war. We should have some final resolution on this murder case. We do have another one coming up in August. We have another one where we have an officer involved shooting in the city of Tama. There's a lot of division, and this is also division, and it's taken a toll on the county. There's friends that have been friends forever. I've got friends that will not look at me, will not talk to me. for positions I've taken. And now that I'm taking a different position, I'm gonna have friends that won't look at me or won't talk to me again. However, it's the right thing to do, I believe, at this time. And so enter into negotiations, look at a development agreement. What is the development agreement? What does that look like? We get a crack at that. However, we don't have to accept, as a board, if we can't get general consensus. We need 3 votes of this board to pass anything.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand, I guess on the lawyer side of it, so by doing this, you're wanting to not use a lawyer
For the,
for the developer. For that.
it has to go in front of our lawyer eventually. I don't want him to negotiate for us a settlement. This is a development agreement. If we can get concessions from them without using an attorney, then he's not going to get 30%. If he's doing the negotiating for us, he's going to, they're going to ask for some percentage of whatever the settlement is. I almost guarantee it. That's the way settlements work when you're using an attorney on top of your.
I guess I'd like to talk to our attorney first to understand that. I guess, is this something we have to do today, or can we talk to him first, I guess, then understand that side of it? Because in my experience, you know, I've been in mediations before with Salt Creek Wind, and it was lawyers, and it was sit at a table, you know, you all talk. I think we need the same thing. A lawyer's good because they can protect you from things that the county's not thinking about. I think we need to make sure, you know, let's not just, oh, they're out there, you know, they do whatever they want in our county, right? Everybody needs to be protected, and what the, you know, even future boards, when we leave, we need to make sure that things can be done. So I guess I would like to understand from our lawyer more. I'm not saying I'm not interested in doing this. Why rush it when we haven't even talked to our lawyer to understand, would you charge us something, or he's getting enough money per hour, maybe he'll just take that, you know, I'm a big contract person, I wanna make sure things are in contracts, they're in writings, you know, we don't want the next area, the one that's actually doing the contracts, like, I wanna make sure that we have an upper hand on this as well. I know there's Brent, but I don't know that he would do that, but I'm just trying to think how we do that.
I'd like the microphone back. I don't think you guys were actually listening to what Mark said. With this type of a development agreement, this is a sit down across the table, face to face with the people, not the lawyers. We could sit there and argue back and forth over the table. Hey, we want this, what do we do? If the lawyers are involved, they're going to get 30%. I guarantee it, maybe more. We're not, what I'm talking about now is we're not going to need to involve the lawyers right now. This is a face-to-face with the principals. And then after we've come to what we think is a good discussion or a good agreement, then we can get it all locked down on paper with the lawyers. And the lawyers then don't get the 30%. So, I'm trying, there was a case I just saw, oh, I know what it was. It was at the juvenile detention facility. There was a lawsuit, a certain amount of money was approved. The lawyers on both sides got 30%. The guy that was doing the suing got what was left. I don't want to go down the path where we as a board, or we as whatever, negotiate with the principals of the wind companies, come to an agreement, whatever that agreement is, whether it's build a new jail or give us a couple $1 million. I don't know what it is, but we can make that discussion and get them to agree to it, or we agree, and then we get the lawyers to nail it down and say, yeah, this is okay. But if you involve the lawyers in that discussion, everybody lawyers up, and we don't have a true, that's like talking in here. We get a whole lot of feedback here because lawyers are involved. If lawyers are involved, guess what? People would clam up. And that's my point. We need to talk to them without the lawyers present first.
Is there anything we'd have to sign to do this, or like any, you know, mediation agreement, NDA? I mean, it's like, what's the detail? I just don't want to approve it today and then all of a sudden, oh, well, because you approved it today, now you have to sign all this, or.
We don't sign anything. This is a negotiation. We
Yeah,
talked
that's a
about
good
it,
question.
and at the end, we're walking away. Or, no, we like it, now we need to bring it back to our board. You need to bring it back to whoever makes the decisions at, you know, the wind company.
And are they interested in this? Has anyone talked to them?
I don't know,
guess we're in.
Yes, we have talked about it. I had reached out, because I wanted, it seems like every meeting, the topic of discussion is the decommissioning plan, and I've heard so much different information. I've heard, from people who are for the wind turbines, people who are against the wind turbines, and the answers I get are so far off. I wanted to actually have discussions with the people who have the decommissioning plan. And so I scheduled a meeting, with Kimberly, and Kimberly was, gracious enough to schedule with me, to answer my questions, study their decommissioning plan, that was, entered. We had a kind of a vague idea of what it was, but I have a lot better understanding. And one thing that hasn't been brought up, each landowner that entered into a contract for wind turbines had a provision within their contract to address decommissioning as on their individual property. I believe that was something that's been left out of the discussion. And so that, I'll just throw that out there. During that time, it was after the ruling had come out on that previous Thursday, it's Thursday, right? Thursday, the ruling came out, and, there was a representative from, NextEra that asked my opinion. Now that you have the ruling, are you guys going to keep, moving forward with litigation? Are you going to, are you interested in some kind of a coming to the table and, discussing, further litigation at that point? And, we had to do some thinking about it over the weekend, and, that's when I came to my conclusion. And so those discussions have taken place. And so they are willing, I believe that Salt Creek is willing to come to the table and to start to have some of these discussions. There's nothing that can be agreed upon finally and inked. When you go and you create this document, it's you saying what you want, they saying what they want. We come to things that we all agree on and we sign it after. The attorneys are going to continue to rack up fees. I think that we should submit any type of development agreement we come to the attorney just for the legalities of it. I don't think that that's wise to not do. However, a common political tactic is just to delay it, put it down the road, and I think it's time right now to make a decision.
Yeah, we should be face to face, but with that decommissioning, the clause that's in there, most of these people down in rural Tama County didn't know that they couldn't get out of it. So these salesmen or Mr. Berm or whoever went out and pushed this stuff on them, didn't tell them the whole story. So I'm not a big, just because there's a clause in there doesn't mean they should have known it. Okay, he sat in here the other day, shrugged his shoulders. Oh, they should have got a lawyer. Nice. I mean, these people were not informed on everything they were signing. I'll guarantee it. So that clause doesn't mean a lot to me, but, that's just, I mean, honestly, this green energy is dishonest, greed and dishonesty from above President Biden, him, and all the way down to our zoning commissioner. All right. It's been nothing but greed and corruption, corruption. That's why I'm against that, and it's subsidized. So, I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to talk, but their honesty is definitely questionable.
And one other question, is it gonna be all 5 board members then? Is that what we're thinking?
Absolutely.
Because I would like it to be like all 5,
In discussion with them?
in discussion with them, correct? I think it needs to be all 5 of us.
I don't know if that is.
And what's the close, what's
Are you
the,
talking about in a closed session or? are you
yeah,
talking about-
what would the closed session language be? Is there one for this topic?
I don't think you can do 5 because it becomes a quorum.
Yeah, if you end up with a quorum, obviously you have to post it and it becomes a public meeting. I don't know that if there's any, honestly, I haven't looked at
Yeah.
Is it allowable to go into, closed session? Nothing I can think of within, chapter 21 allows us to go into, it could be this, after they make their, you know what I mean, after they make their, suggestions or whatever, we could go in to discuss what they've, said in the closed session, because it would give them an unfair advantage, but we'd have to also do that with our attorney. So that's one of the things that, maybe be.
Be nice to understand how other other counties do it
It's
today.
not unusual. So this is usually what happens. You put a moratorium on it, if somebody's already starting a project, immediately you start working on a development agreement. That was what was recommended to us before we put on the moratorium. However, I felt that we had a legal case. I thought that we had a lot of really good facts, and the judge decided that we didn't. And so that's why we're at the point that we're at now, where we should enter into a development agreement. These are not uncommon. These are all over the United States. And particularly with government, cities, counties, when a project's already started, when they want to have some understanding, this protects us, it protects them. And so that it goes without saying, but I just wanted to respond to Kurt's response. The contracts that were entered, from what I understand, the company, signing the agreements and the individuals, they had opportunities to refer these things to their attorneys. And the ones that were doing the negotiating, and this is only what I'm told, okay? That they said they're not going to, sign off on any agreements until after they have an attorney. They have an attorney that they could use, or they could use their own private attorney, and the negotiators would pay for their attorney. And so they all had an opportunity to have an attorney look at it. What I'm told, I wouldn't there, and I'm just saying what's being said. So there's some, concessions there.
I just had a question. If you guys choose to go into negotiations without an attorney to save money for the county, are you going to require that offers also does not have their attorney present? Because I don't think that would be a good idea if you go in and they have them.
Correct. I think that we're pretty good negotiators, honestly. I'm a trained negotiator. David is a trained negotiator. And we can all be there to share our input if that's what everybody wants. It'll be in a public forum, so you can all see exactly what we're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the way that it should be.
Yeah, let's do that then.
And if they have their attorney there, to advise them, I don't know that that gives them an upper hand. Honestly, attorneys seem to mess things up more than the people that are making the decisions. We would need legal direction after, obviously we would refer it to our attorney to say, look at the contract, and Brent Herring can do that. We could also send it to our private attorney to do that, because we have a contract laid out, just incur more costs. We're trying to avoid that, but honestly, I think that if we have a consensus that we should move forward and at least.
I sat in on
Yep.
negotiations with Salt Creek before.
Yep.
Not pretty.
Okay. We kind of know what we're getting into.
Okay.
I've done this before.
Yeah, I guess I want to make sure our motion is clear. Is it gonna be 2 people or 5 people? Because I feel like I personally need to be in there. It's my district in phase 1. I have all the wind background research knowledge. I have a full list of concessions, maybe not full, but a half page of concessions, written to protect the people, the land, and make sure things are followed. I mean, there's things that I have in place. So I guess before we approve the motion, I want to make sure it's clear. Is it 5 of us or 2 of us, and who's the 2?
That would be a separate motion. If we want to delegate particular people to go and negotiate, or if we want to have all 5 of us, that would be a separate motion. This is just entering into the negotiations, that we can clarify it with a separate motion. And we can stay here until we get a clear understanding of what this board wants to do moving forward for that. Good.
Can you take some questions?
No, not at this point. Janet just had some information that she wanted to input, which was helpful. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Will you read back the question, please?
you're gonna motion on?
Yep, well, the motion was made and seconded, but what's
I
the
have to
motion
approve entering into negotiations with Salt Creek Land.
for the development agreement? Correct?
That's what I said.
Okay. For this motion, I want a roll call.
Okay, Turner,
Aye.
Kupka,
Aye.
Nolan,
Aye.
Nibble,
Aye.
Mulner.
Aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda, which is before the one we just, but I agree with whoever made that comment, that we should have had that discussion before this one. Discussion and possible action to terminate litigation in the Salt Creek Wind project. That was probably we're not gonna end litigation, until we have an agreement.
Right.
Okay,
Can I table that? I make a motion, we table that one?
motion to table,
I'll second it,
seconded, discussion.
300%. We have to have some leverage, and I know there's things ruled against us, but there is a lot of things that didn't follow the law and still are incorrect. Those need to be made right. We need concessions, and this county needs to be brought in the right direction.
Correct. But just a clear understanding, we are not asking to continue down this road of every day calling our attorney 5 to 10 times a day or emailing, knowing that every time they open up an email, it's 15 minutes, going to be $125. We want the litigation to stop. We want a ceasefire. I think that in good faith, we're reaching out to the Salt Creek company and their attorneys and saying, if we're willing to come to the table, please stop filing so many filings so that we don't have to defend ourselves. I think that there's an understanding there, and that would, I think, communicate a attitude or a spirit of cooperation. Honestly, that's why they've reached out to me. I have displayed that willingness of cooperation. Now we have a unanimous decision that's been made by our board to enter into negotiations. I hope that that's enough to slow down the rapid fire filings. Okay. And so
Be the most, I make that
the
motion.
motion and to table and the second to table, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Now, do we want to take up a committee? What are the pros and the cons of get, having us all there, having a designated negotiating team? You know, open the door for discussion.
I mean, we have Kim Dickey here. Is there recommendations or what you would be willing to do? Sorry to put you on the spot, but what do most do, I guess, or what makes the most, what are you agreeable? Or we can do it next week and make, I don't know if we're starting this though right away though, or we'll probably start sooner than that, but,
I don't think we should put them on this one.
okay. That's
Start with, I will make a phone call to each of you individually today and come back together. And decide what this timeline looks like and what date and time we can get together and talk.
Okay. So individually, we would be able to lay out our concessions, I assume, through those discussions. And then collectively, I think as a board, moving forward, we could either do that in a work session, that is posted, and we could do that fairly quickly. We want to know what their concessions are as well, what they're going to ask for concessions, possibly before we meet. And so if we could get that as well, we can make that, I'm gonna talk with them and try to get that as soon as possible. So the proposal would be that they would be able to call us individually, to lay out all of the concessions that we have, and then come back together as a full group or as that's still on the table. If we want to designate a couple or if we do not.
We'll take that up later to figure out that part of it, right?
Well, we could take it up later or we could do it now. it would just be prohibited. We'd have to have another meeting, to do this. Can we just do it now?
So, I would suggest that we go with two people. That way we don't have a quorum, so it can't be held at a later date. If we get a quorum there, they said this, so I say two people to negotiate. I mean, the rest, we put together all the concerns and carry those forward with two. And then they meet with them face to face. And if they show up with 40 people, that's not gonna be a good negotiation practice. But yeah, I think we should keep it so there's no quorum. That protects us as a board, I think, for the initial negotiations. And then we bring it back, whoever the we's are, bring it back to the full board in the discussion. We can have a closed session. Hey, this is what we did, and then we can actually discuss, and then we can, keeping the negotiations open with the win, and then we can go back and help back and forth until we come to a consensus. I think that's the smartest way to do it, but keeping it to a smaller number makes it a lot easier to have that face-to-face knockdown, drag out discussion.
Okay.
So I've already volunteered, I'd like to be there, who would like to be with me, or, you know, you guys can decide if you don't want me to be there, but I'm just saying I would volunteer.
There would be, or you're volunteer, there would need to be a motion that if we're going to do two, I would caution, so certainly you need to lay out your concessions. It's pretty well known that you've been very vocal. I think there's an appearance of impropriety to try to kill the project if you're there to negotiate every point. I'm not opposed to it. If that's what the full board wants, but I think that we need to have some, people who are there. I'm not saying that it has to be me. I certainly am willing to do it as well. But people who are there that don't have emotional connections to the project.
I disagree fully. I need to be there to represent my district and the people, even, Craig and others, I will represent them too. I can be one to sit there at a table and negotiate. It's still gonna come back to a full board. You guys don't know as much
Correct.
about wind turbine topics like, bats being killed and shadow flickering.
That's not the discussion now.
What's the discussion then?
They've met the requirements of the building project. The negotiation is to determine if we're going to move forward and what concessions we can get for that.
Those are concessions.
Now you're wanting to relitigate a case that's already happened.
No, I don't actually. I'm trying to do what's right for the people that are gonna live around it, whether they want it or they don't.
That's correct, and they have already met the legal requirements, and the court has deemed that so. And not in a final way, but in a temporary way that will be final at some time.
And I'd just say that that's kind of my point, is we can meet individually. Like I tried to do in January before the moratorium was enacted, I had individual phone calls to let you know that I would like an agenda item to discuss moratorium resident clarity. And that unfortunately didn't happen by we allowed to keep certain public comment. So what I'm proposing is that we get on a phone call with each of you and we hear concerns. You guys can decide how many representatives from the board we want to meet with us to carry, negotiations through development of a joint development agreement. But I would personally like to hear each of your individual concerns.
Okay.
That's my proposal.
Can you explain a little more what a development is? And it's not like I'm understanding there's not concessions you can make, I guess, what are we doing in this if we can't make concessions? I'm not talking about the lawsuit.
You can't make concessions. That's the whole point of it.
That's what I was just saying. If there are different items that, hey, our project goes through, but you do these different items that, I don't know, I don't understand.
It's like a mediation. You say what you want, they say what they want, and what we can agree upon, we sign and we move forward.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I,
and you. So we hear it individually, and then the board can decide amongst itself how many representatives the board need in a work session, whether it's in front of the public, if it's a closed session. And terms of settlement, joint development groups.
Alright. In that case, I don't know that we need to have a motion, with the understanding that if we decide to, move forward and get all of us in a room, or just a couple of us, it will just hold up the process. We'll have to have a special meeting if we want to do that sooner rather than later, or it can go on the meeting agenda for next Monday if we. I would like, however, to kind of have a resolution, put together fairly quickly, because some legal fees do add up. So with that in mind, I'm still not, I'm not going to end discussion, or, if there's a motion that we all, be in the room, or a couple of us want to be in the room. I want to hear that, first, and if there's none, we'll move on. Please.
Disagree with, one person at a time being questioned. I've been through hospice negotiations with FPI, and, that's not an appropriate way to do business. I believe that ought to be a couple of people face to face across the table with the principals, not lawyers, not the low person on the low, I shouldn't say it's a low person on the totem pole is actually the highest, person in the business, if you actually know what you're talking about. No, I think it needs to be somebody at, probably, maybe a vice president level, somebody who can actually negotiate, and make concessions, because, and Heather, I don't want to knock you, but, I wouldn't negotiate. I wouldn't. Not because you're bad. I would negotiate with you in a case like this. It needs to be somebody who's fairly neutral, and it needs to have the negotiating skills to, so if we come to a rational decision, and it can't be drug out. I would think Salt Creek right now, because of what's been put out on the internet and so forth, I'm pretty sure they've already got ideas of what they would like to do. I think I've got ideas of what I think we would like to do. And it's not down to the nitty gritty level, it's at a much higher level. We need to stop the litigation, we need to come to an agreement. But it needs to be sooner rather than later, so we can stop the lawyers from racking up huge bills. But it needs to be something, we need to talk to somebody who can actually make decisions at the Salt Creek team. I don't know, like I said, vice president level, I mean, that's where I think we are in the county. And I believe, I'll be honest, I think Mark and I should be the ones that do the negotiating. That we can collect data, but it's not necessarily the nitty-gritty. It's what is the best thing for the county? What is the best thing for Salt Creek? And let's see where those, we'll do the Venn diagram, if you want to call it, where do those overlap, and what can we agree to? And then we can bring it back and say, okay, here, we both had this discussion, and here's where we stand. Do we as a board agree with it or not? If we agree with it, then we can take it to our lawyers, and then Salt Creek can do whatever they do on their side. But again, I think it needs to be at the highest level possible, so that we come to an agreement quickly.
Having said that, do we want to make a motion? Do we want to hold off?
Do we hold off?
Heather says hold off.
Kurt's gonna know. I don't say much. I sit here and I take it all in. But I'm tired of fighting this thing. I make a motion that we put Mark and David in there to do the negotiating.
I guess I can second that.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
It'd be different if we had $15 million laying around.
Then we have a different conversation.
Yes.
Our treasurer's here, we don't have $15 million. The motion on the table was to appoint David and myself for the negotiating team. Any other discussion?
Can you do that without, being on the agenda?
Yes, we can.
You can.
It's pertinent to the discussion that we're having. It's part of the enter into negotiations, that would be very germane. Appointing a negotiating committee would be germane to the topic. Any board member could challenge that decision if they would wish to. It's allowed that we adopted rules and this is part of Robert's rules of order. All right, there's been a motion and a second. We'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Did you abstain here?
I did.
Got one no, 3 yeses, 1 abstention. Okay. Discussion and approved claims.
We have an extremely high amount of claims with insurance. But this week, it's 913, 920, period, 85. So $913,920.85. I make the motion, we approve them.
Second.
The reason it's so high, we have our insurance premiums, I thought $500,000.
That's property insurance.
Yeah, property insurance.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For the county shop, yeah. Or not shop, the road department, correct? Under the just, yeah. Put the second to approve claims, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're back down to public comments. Anybody from the public wish to speak again? Come to the microphone and identify yourself.
Just have a question. Does this rule still apply, I don't know how true it is or not. If you abstain, you have to give your reason for abstaining. I don't know if that's,
Under the new rules, you do not.
okay, I didn't know if there was.
And there was also an assumption if you didn't vote, then you voted affirmatively, which is also, you know, kind of illegal. So-
Not trying to stir anything up, I just wondered what the reason was.
Yep,
I'll tell you, I can say it.
if you wish.
I don't know what the difference is. We obviously have 2 people that are for settling 100%. What's the difference if we have somebody? Why not have 2 people on there that see different views?
Makes sense.
Thanks for answering.
Okay. Any other public comments, Richard?
2 things. One, did you, approve the closure of the Charleston car?
Yeah, yes, we did.
Okay. Didn't catch that. Yeah. Okay, and follow up, I believe Mark is just as biased on one side as Heather is on the other. So I think Heather and David should be the ones to go in and talk to him. Because you publicly said you want to, negotiate and shut this off. How can you say you're unbiased? You know, David wants 2 people on there that are unbiased. I believe David is unbiased. But I do not believe you are, just like I don't think Heather is. So I don't see why you believe you can go negotiate better than Heather. She knows everything that's happened here in the last 3.5 years.
Well, for one, I'm a trained negotiator. For 2, I am unbiased. That's how I came to my conclusion. You think it's the easy thing to do to change course in the middle of a litigation like this? It's not. The easy thing would be just to continue. I'm not biased. I think what's in the best interest of the county is what the majority of the people say, and I'm tired of hearing it. David ran unopposed. Did he win by 65%? He had no opponent. I won by 9 votes in my primary, and I won by 43 votes in my general election. Is my district being represented if I only advocate for or against? I have to take everybody's. I didn't win by 65%, so that talking point needs to go away. The 65% of the people did vote to put it on for us to go from 3 to 5, and I think that you can make some certain determinations for that. But if I represent my district, as Kurt and David have so eloquently argued in the last couple meetings, I have to take everybody's vote into consideration, and so I am not biased. As a matter of fact, I was more opposed and more on board with fighting this thing after I got elected, having seen the damage that had been done. But when you come to the realization, there was nobody probably in the county, nobody that wanted to see this thing through to its final legal conclusion. Without having the court weigh in, we had no opportunity to do that. That's why I agreed. But once the cards are stacked against us, it's insurmountable. I believe that, and the motion's been made saying we've already approved it. I'm not in, the people that voted for me, the people that voted for me to be chair, have a lot of confidence in me to do the right thing. I'm gonna continue to do the right thing, no matter if people are going to hate me one day and love me the next. I don't care. I'm not here to make friends.
I'll just add in on that on the voting. So I was elected with 97%. That means the people believe in me, and I am not just anti-wind. I'm for following the law. And so in that, like I said, I'm just a little disappointed because it's my district. I know you have phase 2, but it's my district, and the people on both sides voted for me, and I will consider both sides. I'm not just a one-sided. I mean, Richard can contest. When I used to work on this, I was compliance officer. I was making sure that things follow the rules. And that's what I did. It's not just I've come to this realization, even more recently, like, yes, do I have a lot of pride and passion? I do. That's for all the people. No matter if they signed an easement, they didn't sign an easement, I don't care either way. But like I said, I'm just disappointed in the board. I have the background in research, and yeah, just frustrating.
Have Patrick Cornwell. It says, run these talks like collective bargaining, the 5 of you in the room, but only 1 or 2 principal speakers across the table.
Okay, we can't do that and get around open meeting laws, unfortunately. So, having said that, anybody else from the public wish to comment? Go ahead, Karen.
Yes. Before I was going to ask what would happen if you, now it's going to be the 2 of you, as it was just voted on without public comment. What happens if you aren't able to negotiate the way you guys want it to
Then
come
the
out?
full board won't vote for it.
And then, 65% is the average of the people, not just Heather's 97% and you're almost 50-50%, actually 50-50. It's the average of the voting turnout and the voters' voice for that last year's election. That's 65%. It's huge. It's really huge. The people spoke. So I know you just said to drop that, but I wanted to explain it because we also sit here and have to defend our TCAT fighting for the people in northern Tama County. We have to defend that constantly against attacks. And yeah, we've all put in a lot of time over the last 4 years. It's immense. I do appreciate you guys stepping forward. I just wanted to clarify what happens if you and David don't like the way the negotiations are going. Can you guys do that fairly without conceding just because you want to move on?
No, because we have to have the decision of the full board. Whatever we come to an agreement on, has to run past our full board.
Okay.
Okay. Did you want to speak?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does Heather, do you only own an acreage?
Me? I own an acreage, my parents' farm, and I'm also renting farm ground, correct?
You very quickly here appears to me,
Yep.
you want to just throw $1 million down the gutter because they won on all accounts. You lost, and you need to face up to that, and we don't have millions of dollars to throw down the gutter.
I'd agree with you. I haven't,
So you need to face up to the facts.
I
We haven't lost, we have not lost in Supreme Court. We got Supreme Court to be 50-50.
You're talking probably, when they say $150,000, that's nothing. You're talking
Yeah.
$1 million, maybe 2, possibly 3 if they drag it out for 5 years. You've got that money to throw around?
The lawyer said that it would be tens of thousands.
I pay 6 figures in property taxes and I don't like them thrown down the gutter because somebody thinks that she can just throw the money away. Mark appears to me, he's come to the fact that they lost on all accounts and he would like to negotiate. You appear to me, you don't want to negotiate, you want to go to Supreme Court. Good luck with that one.
yeah, I disagree. I don't think, I guess Supreme Court would be good if we had money. Clearly we don't. So I have come to the realization that I want to get the best deal for the people that actually have to live in my district. I'll be honest. I mean, I would have I said that 2 weeks ago? No.
You've lost on all accounts, so
In district court, which is not a big, it's normal. You're gonna lose in district court on wind turbines.
They're only, if you do any research at all on temporary injunctions, the court will only enter a temporary injunction about 12% of the time. That means you have an 88% chance of losing. Of those, 38% are successful to be overturned from the original ruling. It gives us less than 6% chance of losing in the district court.
In district court.
To get, I mean, and that's why we're having this discussion, where we're at. If we go to the Supreme Court, we do not have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Because one thing that I didn't consider last week when we had voted was that Salt Creek 2 is right behind this. Guess what? That starts this clock all over again. Starts the clock on the lawyers, on the fees, all over again. So that's kind of what helped me to come to my conclusion.
So,
and
oh, go ahead.
for the record, I have several farms in phase 1 and I did not sign any of them up.
Okay.
But that's not because I'm against wind, for wind, I'm against power lines cutting all my tile.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I mean, people should have an option, and if they didn't take the contract to a lawyer, I guess that's on them, because if you know anything about negotiations with those companies, you take it to a lawyer. Not the hometown lawyer most of the time.
Yeah. Nothing against our family.
No, but you gotta go to a lawyer that does that.
I'm just trying to minimize my ego.
And I'm the same as Roger. I have inherited ground up there in that phase 1. I voted no for it too, for the same factor as the tile and being able to do what we need to do if we got wet spots and whatnot, and I'm not gonna dig around power. I dig around them for a living, but I'm not gonna dig around those type.
Karen?
I need to clarify that people, I don't know, I guess people don't realize that some of the approached farmers and landowners, they did go to lawyers. And for a fact, I know that not some lawyers, this, we're going back a long time already. We might be going back as much as 6, 7, or 8 years, maybe longer. Some lawyers, there wasn't much information. They said, yeah, heck yes, sign. Your neighbors are all signing. Why wouldn't you sign? It looks like pretty easy money. Then another lawyer would say, no, I would never sign that because you're going to be giving up all the rights of ownership on your farm as the years go by. So the lawyers did not agree, and I've heard it so many times. Why didn't those stupid farmers go talk to a lawyer? A lot of them did go talk to a lawyer. The lawyers did not agree. However, I don't blame them because a lot more today than what we knew even last year, even 1 year ago today. We know more.
There is. Close public comments. Have we addressed all the items on the agenda? believe we have. If so, we will adjourn at 11:24. Thank you all for your comments. This has been a really tough issue for everybody. Then we can get on the right track as far as, making it really, really. Thank you.